welcome to the Week 6 Boom Bust Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Fantasy Football Advice Network and Sellout Crowd. I'm Corey, and I'm joined by my brother, Kyle. We're going to break down some booms and busts at each position for your Week 6 fantasy football matchups. It's been a pretty challenging season so far with all the injuries and whatnot, so good luck, Kyle.
Yeah, we're gonna do better than last week. I can feel it. Last week was a glitch in the matrix. We're gonna get it all better this week.
Fresh start. Here we go.
Fresh start. Clean slate.
Alrighty, who's your boom quarterback of the week?
All right, so my boom quarterback of the week is Matthew Stafford. Been playing pretty well already. Had a pair of touchdowns last week against Philly. He's got all of his weapons back, right? Kupp is back. But also Arizona is 30th against the pass. That's a fantastic matchup. That's a much better matchup than Philly, right? To have Kupp back, I think this team's going to go off this week and score a lot of points.
The cup runneth over. Yes, he's finally got it back. And they finally have that number 2 wide receiver that they've been searching so hard for with Puka. Mm-hmm. They're both super dangerous. Plus, their Kyron has actually been pretty decent at running back, as a nice little workhorse there. So that offense is kind of firing on all cylinders right now. Love the weapons that Matthew Stafford has, and Stafford knows how to take advantage of it. So that offense is on the upward trajectory.
Definitely.
All right, what do you got for your bust?
All right, my bust QB of the week is not going to be a popular decision because this kid's been playing super well. Had a little bit of a rough week last week. I'll talk about CJ Stroud, of course. Had a little bit of a down week last week. Not exactly the pass happiness numbers that we're used to seeing from him last week. But this week, he plays New Orleans. It's actually his toughest test to date. So I think we see a little bit of continuance from last week. I think he'll struggle a little bit. They're actually 9th against the pass. So top 10 D against the pass for him this week. I don't see big numbers for him this week.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know last week his numbers were hurt a little bit by them probably running the ball a little bit more. They are pass happy. They're letting him throw the ball and air it out quite a bit more than any of us expected. But like you said, New Orleans, tough defense there. I think this is going to be a real challenge for him, and be interesting to see how he does in a challenge like that. But I'm not trusting it this week in my fantasy lineup at all. Yeah. All righty, let's move over to some running backs then.
Yeah, the boom running back this week. I'm feeling real good about this pick. Raheem Mostert versus Carolina.
Is that considered low-hanging fruit?
You know, maybe. It's we'll call it mid-hanging fruit.
Okay.
Because, for those people who maybe aren't necessarily aware that Achan's not going to play for a few weeks, or maybe concerned that Jeff Wilson coming back from IR might hinder Mostert's workload, I disagree. I think they'll work Wilson back in slowly. He'll have a role, don't get me wrong. But Mostert's going to have I would expect him to get pretty close to a completely full workload playing against the team that's second worst against running backs in the league. I expect him to have just a heck of a day. I don't think he'll have the 4-touchdown outing again. That's so rare. But he'll have a pretty nice day regardless.
Honestly, I'm not sure that a 4-touchdown day isn't out of the realm of possibilities when he's not really sharing that much. I agree. Jeff Wilson, not a threat to his usage right off the bat. I'm not sure if much ever from this point forward, honestly, until when A-Chain comes back. But, yeah, I'm trusting Mostert this week as their workhorse against, like you said, a Carolina defense is a must start.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Jeff Wilson won't have much of a role this week coming back from that injury. He'll have a little bit of a role until Achan's back. Once Achan's back, I really don't see a whole lot of touches for Jeff Wilson.
Yeah. Just kind of an insurance policy at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, who you got your bust?
My bust running back, Derrick Henry.
Ouch.
I think he's finally hit the wall that the fantasy community's been talking about him hitting for the last couple of years.
Wait a second. You're telling me that he's human?
He actually is human, believe it or not.
I
Spears
don't
is
believe it.
carving out a larger and larger role every week. He's being more impressive and more efficient with the touches. They also play Baltimore, who's not exactly a slouch defense. So, man, I'm struggling to get Derrick Henry in lineups most weeks this year, but especially this week. Like, after seeing last week how Tyjae Spears played, I think he's going to be pretty close to 50-50, and I'd rather have the Tyjae side of that equation going forward.
This is the first season that Derrick Henry hasn't been matchup proof. He has been matchup proof for quite some time now. And like you said earlier, oh, he's going to hit his wall this year, and he doesn't. Oh, he's going to hit his wall this year, and he doesn't. And then he finally has, after turning 29 years old, he's finally seems to have hit his wall. And injuries have kind of hurt him a little bit there, along with the age and stuff. And Tyjae Spears is holding his own and helping that team. So they're willing to concede some of that work over to him. So not spelling great for Derrick Henry there. And he's just not matchup proof anymore. That's sad.
Yeah, it is. King Henry.
Ugh. All righty. Let's take a minute here and talk about Fantasy Football Advice Network. You go to fantasyfootballadvice.com. You can sign up for free for the only social media network 100% dedicated to fantasy football. You can ask your questions. You can give advice. You can post polls. You can read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts, and all kinds of stuff on there. Join the community, have some fun, and win your league. All righty. Let's go on to the next one, Kyle. You got your wide receiver boom.
Wide receiver boom. It's another kind of mid-hanging fruit, but Mr. Jordan Addison, the low-hanging fruit part is, hey, JJ's on IR. He's the new number one. The maybe not so low-hanging fruit part is this week they play Chicago, who is one of, I know it didn't look that way against Washington, but, you know, one of the worst probably passing defenses in the league. So all of that together, I mean, JJ's already been 3 out of 5 games. He's had a touchdown anyways. So, I mean, the dude's already been efficient. So him in the number one role, I think he can handle it. And against the Bears, I think he's a top 10 option this week.
I agree. He's already been so involved already, getting high target counts and scoring those touchdowns. I don't know how he doesn't get a boost on top of that. He's already becoming reliable. So, yeah, I like that matchup against Chicago too. I mean, you're licking your lips if you're an Addison owner right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's fine. So. Yep. All right, who's your bust wide receiver?
Bust wide receiver, DK Metcalf. I know some people will be like, what? Yeah, this is probably the most consistently good season he's had yet so far. But, you know, Geno's not necessarily playing the best. This week they play Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati's secondary is playing really, really well. They're quietly playing very good defense. And it's hard to notice because of how bad the offense was for the first part of the year with Burrow not playing well. But they are 4th against other opposing teams' wide receiver ones. So I expect DK to struggle a little bit this weekend and maybe see a little bit more Jackson Smith and Jigba and Tyler Lockett instead.
Yeah, DK Metcalf, as good of as an athlete as he is not producing at fantasy at his draft value, right? People draft him really high because he's such a great athlete, should be producing so much, and just isn't. He's currently setting at the number 37 wide receiver in PPR. That's not even wide receiver 3.
He's drafted
outside of wide receiver 3 territory.
They draft him as a top 15, and he's right top 30 most years.
Yes, and so it doesn't produce on the field. Granted, he is getting double-digit points every week, But so his floor is really good, but his ceiling is not so great. He's not going to blow up for a game like Lockett could, where Lockett could go off for 2 touchdowns or whatever.
Yeah.
That offense is not, like you said, kind of running on all cylinders. Really, that offense runs through Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker already has 5 touchdowns on the season compared to like DK Metcalf's 1, right? So that's who that offense is running through right now. He's getting all the production. It's not flowing over to DK Metcalf.
Yeah, 100%.
That cup not runneth over.
No, 100%. That offense runs through Walker.
Yep.
And just to be clear too, when I was picking these this week, there were a lot of receivers with really good matchups this week. It was really hard to pick a bust. So most people are going to be pretty happy, I think, with their receivers this week.
Yeah. But you mentioned Geno not playing too great, and Geno had a fantastic year last year, and he's not doing the same this year. There were question marks of, was he just kind of playing out of his mind, or is this actual Geno, and I think now we're getting the Geno we kind of expected a little bit more.
Well, you know what happened, right? He got paid.
When you get paid,
and now he's pulling a Burrow. But no, like, he did play a little out of his league last year, I feel like.
He did. Yep.
Yeah, this year, he's still a decent enough quarterback for fantasy purposes, for real life even, but he's just not giving you those top 5 numbers like he did last year.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that's been a little disappointing, but season's not over either.
That's true. Yep. All right. Maybe they catch their groove. All right. Let's go on to your boom tight end.
My boom tight end, Mr. Cole Kmet for the Bears. The Bears. Yeah, he's had a pretty good last couple of weeks as Fields has kind of found his groove, and having them trade for a true number 1 in the offseason like DJ Moore with Fields, finding his groove has really created more space for Cole Kmet to get open and make plays that Darnell Mooney wasn't doing last year for him. Cole Kmet's a very good tight end. This week they play Minnesota. They're 18th against tight ends, which isn't like the best matchup, but it's definitely not the worst. So as long as they just keep doing what they're doing, I expect him to have a very good day and probably get in the end zone again at some point.
Yeah, they're kind of finding their groove there on offense, finally, right? And we saw flashes of Cole Kmet last year, right? In 2022, he had those flashes, those big games, a couple games scoring 20-plus points and scoring, 15-ish points a few games also. So we saw those flashes this year. Didn't know how that would translate this year. Started off really disappointing, but then the last 2 games really blown up and sitting currently at the number 4 tight end in the league. So
very quietly.
Yep.
He's got 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yep. So they're in that offense as a whole. I mean, as Justin Fields go, the whole offense, right? And so Kmet's now starting to get the benefit of Justin Fields playing better.
Absolutely. And there was a little bit, Fields starts the season a little bit rough, goes off against Denver. A little bit of skepticism there. Is it real? Was it the matchup? And then they embarrassed Washington last week on national television on Thursday night. Okay, they're finding a groove. Because Washington, especially for Kmet, Washington has been a pretty tough matchup for tight ends early in the year. And he got in the end zone and had a 15-point PPR outing last week. So, it's for real. Chicago offense is finding its groove, and it's for real. So
they just needed that one game to find their footing, and Denver came at the perfect time for that. And honestly, the rest of their schedule is not bad. So look to Cole Kmet.
It's a pretty easy division, so that helps.
Yeah, so maybe look to Cole Kmet to actually keep producing all season from now on. So all right, let's go on to your bust tight end then.
Oh, bust tight end of the week, Mr. Dalton Schultz. As goes C.J. Stroud, so goes Dalton Schultz. But not only, we mentioned they're tough against the pass for C.J., but they're top 5. They're actually 4th against tight ends. They've been a tough matchup for tight ends all season. They were last season. So that matchup is pretty horrible, which is unfortunate because Schultz is starting to get a little more involved in that passing game over the last couple of weeks. But this is not the week. Start somebody else this week, put him back in there next week, right as rain.
Yep. 1, 2, skip a few. Like you said, he's been more involved lately. That team's been throwing it a lot. In fact, he has a touchdown each of the last 2 games. But this New Orleans matchup, just no bueno. Yep.
The defense is playing very, very well.
Yep. Agree. Alrighty. So that does it for all the booms and busts of the week. But now we want to cover a couple streamers. So I believe your first streamer up is probably a streaming kicker.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, streamer kicker Brett Maher for the Rams, not the Cowboys, the Rams. We talked about it with Stafford, right? Easy matchup, lots of points potential. I like Maher a lot this week to get, if nothing else, a lot of extra points.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be in scoring position. I mean, we talked about this with Fairbairn last week. Just being in scoring position a lot, right? So it's hard to finish with a touchdown every time.
It is.
Scoring position, now you're talking field goal opportunities, and that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for those opportunities. Sometimes you have to settle with just extra points. It's a big drawback for a kicker like Butker, right, where they score Jason Myers or something like that for the Dolphins, where they score a lot of touchdowns, but the opportunity is always there because they're always in scoring position, and that's the kind of kicker you like. And I agree, Brett Maher's going to have that situation this week a lot, probably.
Yeah. Quick correction. You meant Jason Sanders.
Yep, meant Sanders. I knew it. I was like, just Myers. Yep. Jason Sanders for Miami. Yes.
Jason Myers plays in Seattle, and actually, he's a good kicker too.
Yeah, he's also a good kicker. I knew it as soon as I said it, and I was like, no going back. Alrighty. And now your streamer defense of the week.
Streamer defense of the week. Houston Texans. It's my third Texans on player/team on here. But
this one's in a positive way.
But this one's in a positive way because, it's going to be a defensive battle, I think, between Houston and New Orleans. And I think Houston will probably come out on top in the game because they have the better offense. But this defense with an injured Carr, I think could end up getting a couple of picks, maybe some sacks. This new defense under DeMeco Ryans this year has made a bigger leap in his first year than I thought they would. They're not as slouch against the run as everybody thought they would, but they're not the rushing matchup that people had hoped for coming into the season. Last year, automatic start all your running backs against Houston. This year, 100%. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't, depending on the running back. And then, the secondary is playing well. So I think they're going to have a pretty nice little day against Derek Carr and the Saints.
I'll be interested to see how they handle Kamara. So that'll be interesting. So
I think we'll see a lot more dump offs again for Kamara.
I probably agree with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. But I'm sure they're scheming for it, would be my guess.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Alrighty, that does it for all the booms, busts, and streamers. So one last time, just want to throw out there to go to fantasyfootballadvice.com and get signed up for free for the social media network 100% dedicated to fantasy football. You can read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts, and just communicate and join and build a community for fantasy football. Give advice, get advice, talk trash, whatever you want to do on there. Have a good time. That's pretty much all we got for you this week. Kyle, I hope it turns out better for you and injuries don't get in your way.
Well, I don't think it could do any worse than last week.
Really, you can only go up from here, right?
Last week was a glitch in the matrix. I'm not even entirely sure it actually happened. So we're just going to move onward and upward here.
Yeah, it's the first season that they've gone from week 4 and just skipped straight to week 6. It's an odd NFL season for sure.
It's very weird. Yeah, we're just going even numbers only from now on, and you can run on Tennessee now. Go figure.
Man. Wild ride we're on. Cool, man. Well, appreciate your booms and busts, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.